So my girlfriend also said that get your mind in the best mental state possible. And we talk about that a lot here at Drinks with the Girls, about our mindset, our mental state. And for her, she would meditate. And I loved this. She's such my earthy, girthy sister. She says, ground your soul to the earth because you want to stick around. And she says, with emphasis, fuck this cancer in your body. And I'm quoting, you are not welcome here. You are not the boss of me. And part of her treatment was to have a double mastectomy. And I'm sure there's a lot of emotion that goes into making this massive decision because our breasts are such a part of who we are as women, our femininity. They're linked to our role as a mom, if we have kids, our sexuality. And so she also says, love your body. Say thank you to those titties for looking great in a bathing suit, for helping you reach that orgasm, for nursing babies. Say thank you for the service and then move the fuck along. I've got things to do.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that. God, this episode is hard.
We're wrecked.
Yeah, I know. Wow. That's so powerful. And what a gift to be able to listen to those words from people that are living that fight.
Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go. Welcome to Drinks with the Girls, the podcast where we dive into the challenges, triumphs, and adventures of life after 40. I'm Lisa, and today we're talking about breast health in our part 2 of the Twins episode, celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. And we're talking about what every woman over 40 should know. Now, as we like to start the show with what we're drinking, I am drinking a not Chuck Shaw level Cabernet Merlot. I like to think I'm a little more bougie than that. I'm drinking a Yellowtail Cab Merlot. But full disclosure, it does come by the 1.5 liter at your local Kroger. It's all good, though. Karen, what are you drinking, darling?
I am drinking a Cab Franc from one of our one of our local wineries, actually in my neighborhood. I could walk to it. And,
naturally.
They name their wines after like albums, music. Most
Shut
from
up.
Yeah. So this one, I am drinking Magic Bus.
Seriously, that is the best marketing ever. I'm totally I am such a sucker for a good wine label. Like, those marketers, they're speaking to me. If it's a cool label, I'm like, well, I can probably talk myself into it. Like,
I'm all about the labels.
Right? There ain't no matter of like wine spectator ratings that is going to sway me. Like, pretty label. Ooh, I know. Shiny, right? Pretty. Whatevs. Anyways.
I love the Martha Stewart one.
Wait, Martha Stewart has wines?
Or wait, maybe it's Snoop Dogg. No.
I was going to say Snoop Dogg. Okay, I just love
Snoop Dogg's wines. But it's Martha Stewart. No. Or is it 21 Crimes? Don't listen to me. I don't know my wines.
Okay.
Don't listen to me.
I gotta say that like somewhere a marketing communications PR agent just had a heart attack that you conflated Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart together. Like, they hang, but like, yeah, that could be a good thing. I love it.
Her face was definitely on the label. That's why I bought it.
Interesting.
Anywho, today, we're getting back on track here. Today we are
squirrel with wine.
A topic.
drunk squirrel.
We're not even drunk yet.
But the squirrel was.
Yes. And we will not be drunk. We'll just drink.
No.
Anyway, today we're tackling a topic that hits close to home for both of us. And it's also super important for women in our age group. And that is breast health and breast cancer awareness. So we're going to give you knowledge and statistics what to look out for, but we're also going to give you real life experiences and wisdom from women who have been diagnosed and are currently fighting the good fight. Although this topic is incredibly personal for us, we just have to say from the get-go, we are not doctors, we are not cancer researchers, we are your girlfriends having a conversation about an important topic, and we want you to pull up a seat at the table. Then we want you to take any nuggets you learned today and take the time to do your own research.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know we were jesting about the wine, but it's a daunting conversation. And like Karen said, it definitely hits very close to home for both of us, but it's a crucial conversation. And we thought it would fit in nicely, like we said, since we're doing these 2 twin episodes for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So settle in, listeners, get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and here we go.
So my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 48. And she battled until it finally just beat her down when she was 51. So I had a front row seat to how devastating this disease is. And I've been taking my breast health seriously for 30 years. But I joke sometimes, though, because I'm so obsessed with my breast health, it'll be something else like my colon that sneaks up on me and takes me out while my head is focusing on my boobs. But how old was your mom when she was diagnosed?
Yeah. So she was diagnosed in 2013. So she would have been, 72, I want to say. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then shortly afterwards with Parkinson's. And she passed. She passed 2 months shy of 75 from complications with the Parkinson's. But those were brought on from her breast cancer treatment. So it was brutal. And it was incredibly awful as well. Watching someone's mind go at the same time they were fighting cancer was horrific. And just as an aside, you know, we've talked about this before. Like my mom, Renee, was at right by Patty's side going through this. I know it affected her. And I've often thought what it might have been like for her, because we didn't really talk about that piece, just watching her friend go through that and then go through it herself.
Yeah. You know, thinking about them together, even though they didn't fight the fight together, they weren't in the battle together. Like it honestly gives me such peace knowing that your mom was there for my mom. But yes, the toll that it must have taken on her, just, I don't know, makes me teary. But so Lisa and I both struggled watching our moms fight breast cancer, but we are not alone. Did you know that 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime? And this stat really freaking irritates me because 30 years ago, when my mama was diagnosed, it was exactly the same. It was 1 in 8. So what the hell have we been doing for 30 years?
I mean, what the fork? That enrages me. Like, how is it we haven't frickin' moved that needle? But we have good news. So the good news is that there have been significant advances in research and treatment options. So I like to think that even though the statistics of diagnoses have not changed, the survival rates have.
Yeah, well, lay it on me, sister, because I want to hear all the good news.
Yeah, no kidding. So advances in early detection and treatment methods have significantly increased breast cancer survival rates in recent years. There are currently over 4 million, I get chills when I say this, 4 million breast cancer survivors in the United States. This is incredible. And the 5-year survival rate is now around 99% for localized cases. And I think of your mom when I hear stats like that. And it's hard. I don't like to think too much because it's like, what? She might still be with us, you know, and I'm sure you do too. So I actually worked for a film company right out of college, and this was pre-Warner Brothers Friends era, for those of you devotees that have been listening constantly. We actually did a breast cancer film starring Felicia Rashad and a few other well-known women that I can't remember off the top of my head, but the aim was to promote yearly mammograms. So this has been a focus for a long, long time.
I love that. And yeah, my mom never had a mammogram in her life. And once they diagnosed it, it was already spread. So
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, no.
Well, back then, right? What was
that?
Like early 90s, right? That wasn't a thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, it wasn't a thing. And she was really not good at taking care of her health. You know, she really wasn't. But that's
a story for another episode.
But it is good news that there are things, and just like the show that you did with Felicia Rashad, there are, so many things out there for awareness that weren't available when my mom was diagnosed. And this is a disease that significantly affects older women. The median age for diagnosis is 62, but it is important for younger women to stay vigilant too. My mom was 48.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be interested in looking at the stat of what's changed in terms of that median age, but we got to get those Drinks with the Girls researchers going. God, slackers.
What are they
But
doing?
I know, right? So about 9% of new breast cancer cases are diagnosed in women younger than 45. So even though the average age, the median age, which is different, we're not going to talk math, but it is 62. You younger sisters, stay on top of it. Half of women who develop breast cancer are 62 or younger when diagnosed. So it's still very much a thing. Something else that might make you feel better. Breast cancer deaths have been steadily declining since 1989 due to better screening and treatment options. And I mean, I'm just doing a little math, but I would think that that's within 5 years of when your mom passed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1996.
Okay, so within shouting distance.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. Like, that's what I want to hear. So what else do we know?
So there's exciting stuff happening with technology. So for instance, AI can analyze tumor tissues and help create customized treatment plans, which is amazing. So we'll get into the thing with my mom, but I mean, again, she got the radiation bomb and that's what put her Parkinson's on steroids. So I love the fact that they're concentrating on customizing what the treatment looks like so women don't have to suffer needlessly.
Absolutely. And I think the customization part is key because it can't be a one size fits all treatment. So that's great news about AI. I mean, like something not to be scared of when it comes to AI. I feel like we all know at least one person who has dealt with breast cancer. I mean, if 1 in 8 people in the United States or women in the United States are getting diagnosed, we all know someone. In 2022, 2.3 million women were diagnosed with breast cancer globally. And breast cancer is the most common cancer in women and the leading cause of cancer death in most countries.
Yeah, I wonder what that stat would look like when superimposed in the third world, for sure. We do know, of course, that there is a huge disparity when it comes to women of color. And that's one of the reasons that Felicia Rashad signed on to do that film with us because of that. For example, Black women are 40% more likely to die from breast cancer than white women. So without getting too into the weeds, that film was promoting mammograms, yearly mammograms, because that wasn't necessarily a thing back in the day.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's a significant disparity, like 40% more likely to die than white women. And also, Black women have the lowest 5-year relative breast cancer survival rate of any racial or ethnic group. And 1 in 5 Black women, and 1 in 5 Black women with breast cancer are diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, which is harder to treat.
See future episode regarding medical deserts and our sisters of color. At any rate, it's hard to move on from that. But my name is Lisa Corachella McDowell, and I'm not just a healthy smoothie girl. Check out nextlevellifewithlisa.com, my website and centerpiece for all that I do. Connect with me about my free classes, the fabulous health and wellness products I have, literacy work, special education advocacy, and social media. I try to live my truth and put it all out there authentically. And for a special offer, go to nextlevellifewithlisa.com/podcast for some exclusive goodies for my Drinks with the Girls listeners. See you there. The other statistic that's sobering is that even though Hispanic women have a 20% lower incidence rate of breast cancer than other groups, they are more likely than white women to be diagnosed at later stages when it is more difficult to treat. And breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer death for Hispanic women. And again, right, we can go off the deep end on this episode, but a lot of this has to do with access to care. Like white privileged people, it's a real thing.
Yes. And Asian and Pacific Islander women are more likely to be diagnosed with localized breast cancer than other groups, which means it's at an earlier stage and it's more treatable. And they have the lowest death rate from breast cancer. Also, Chinese and Japanese women have the highest breast cancer survival rates. And I just thought of this. I wonder if it has anything to do with lifestyle, diet, and the blue zone connection. I know China's not in the blue zone. And we'll talk about prevention in a bit, but those of you not familiar with the term blue zones, they're basically regions of the world where people have a longer life expectancy and lower rates of chronic disease, and Okinawa, Japan is one of those places. So it seems there must be a connection. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Japanese diet is very different from the American diet. So again, we just basically threw out half a dozen future episodes we could do on any of those topics, but let's talk about the risk factors, right? Catching it early is key. Women over 40 should be aware that age is a significant factor. As we age, our risk increases.
Right. And don't forget family history, genetics, and the lifestyle choices like diet and exercise. I mean, it really boils down to it is really essential to have conversations with your healthcare provider about your personal risk.
Yeah. Especially if you have a family history of breast cancer, you might want to discuss the genetic testing options like BRCA1 and BRCA2 testing.
For sure. I was tested, and I had my daughter tested because she has not only my mom, her grandma, but on her dad's side, she has 2 aunts and a grandmother and a great grandmother. Yes.
That's scary.
So we were both tested for the BRCA genes, and we were both negative.
That's amazing.
Thank goodness. And well, I don't know about thank goodness, because it just would have changed the course
for sure.
Treatment or whatnot. But
information's power.
Absolutely. Speaking of genetics, though, recent research has shown that understanding your genetic makeup can help tailor preventative measures, which kind of what to our point we just talked about.
Yeah. And again, story for another podcast, but this whole idea of customized treatment plans is getting a lot of traction right now. So it's interesting to see where that's going to go in the next few years for sure. So it still remains crucial to get regular screening. So women should start annual mammograms at age 40 or earlier if they have risk factors.
Yes. I think I started getting mammograms in my late 20s.
Wow.
I was 26 when my mom died. And so I'm not sure when I, really got proactive, but it wasn't soon. It wasn't long after that. It is worth mentioning, though, that there is some controversy surrounding mammograms as a screening tool. The amount of radiation exposure, the false positives, they make some in the medical community, although it is a minority, feel like mammograms aren't the best diagnostic tool. My previous gynecologist, who had the nerve to go and retire on me,
damn her.
I know I'm still salty, but I trusted her implicitly. And she and I would have conversations about the best treatments for me since I did have family history and my mom was relatively young when diagnosed. And she recommended yearly 3D mammograms, which we'll talk about in a minute, breast ultrasounds, and then occasional MRIs. So this was my prevention protocol. But listeners, you need to talk with your medical professional and decide the best course of action for you based on your risk factors.
Absolutely. So let's quickly dive into the latest research updates because that's always happening. So one significant study recently published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology discussed the effectiveness of 3D mammography. Dense breasts can make it harder to spot tumors on traditional mammograms. So if you have dense breasts like I did, you should definitely ask your doctor about 3D mammography. In fact, I had to get a mammogram before I had my breast reduction surgery, which we talked about on the last episode, to make sure that they had proper images. And if those of you that have listened to that episode, one of the things they found when they took out tissue was tons and tons and tons of cysts. I had annual mammograms, but that was still part of it. And, the doctor said, I was like, did I just mitigate my breast cancer risk by a lot? He's like, oh yeah, right? However, in full disclosure, as I was prepping for this episode, I realized, shit, I need to schedule my annual visit. It's like I start out with a list of crap to get done every week. Has this ever happened to you listeners? All important. And then it all goes to hell with whatever crisis shows up. I did manage to message my doc on her portals, though, so hopefully someone will throw me a bone and leave me some long voicemail that I then have to answer. But again, it's hard to get this kind of stuff done, but we have to do it.
Yes, you have to make it a priority. But yeah, I'm like that. Like I just transfer lists of things to do from one week to the next. But mammogram, that's not one of them. That is muy importante. No, is that right? Anyway.
You could say it in Italian. It's molto importante.
Ooh, that sounds good.
There you
Even
go.
rolled your
My
R.
God, all the tips you get listening to Drinks with Girls.
We are a plethora of just vast, so much knowledge. I have been getting the 3D mammogram for several years because of my breast cancer risk, because it's shown to better pick up invasive cancers, avoid the false alarms with the 2D mammograms. It improves detection rates, especially in women with dense breast tissue, like Lisa referred to. And this affects about 50 to 60% of women 40 and older. And
Okay, so-
I think it's more than that. Like, because every woman I talk to says she has dense breasts.
And hold up, time out. Okay, again, like not to go on a squirrel rant, but yeah, we always do that.
Let's go.
Explain to me why, if 3D mammograms are better at picking this shit up, that is not recommended all the time. I think I know the answer to that, but lay it on.
That's a very good question. And I have that question myself because, yes, if the 3D mammogram is what picks up more stuff, then wouldn't it be like catching more fish in a wider net? Like, why not recommend 3D mammograms for all women? Like, I've talked to some
Freaking
women.
insurance.
Yes. I've talked to some women and they don't even know what 3D mammograms are, right? They've never been, it hasn't been recommended for them. But
I haven't heard of it until now. I mean, I'm one of those people.
Oh, see, it just blows my mind. And here's my second, and I mean, because I'm like in the breast, like I've been, like I said, hypersensitive to my breast health for
obvious reasons.
But my second question is, and I'm dealing with this firsthand right now because I recently moved away from all my doctors and then, my gyno retired. So I had to find a new one anyway. But so I've been looking for new medical professionals out here where I live. And I'm having a really hard time finding an imaging center that does 3D mammograms. Like I call them up. Oh, we don't do 3D mammograms. Try here. Call them up. They don't do. Oh, guess what? We don't take your insurance. I mean, it's just a whole fucking game. Sorry. This is one of the reasons that women put off their breast screenings because it can be a hurdle. It can be hurdle after hurdle sometimes. And you want to give up. Like right now, I literally want to give up. I want to go back. First of all, I want to call my gynecologist to retire.
And be like, where are you, bitch?
You need to come out of retirement. But I'm considering driving 2 hours to my old breast center to get my mammograms done because it's just a shit show. And nobody, even though my new gynecologist, I found one, she's great, whatever. She's really, knowledgeable about menopause, which I'm here for that too. I need all that knowledge.
See prior episode.
Right. It's just so frustrating because I feel like I have to be my own advocate. And I think that's an important piece we'll talk about later, but we all have to be our own health advocate. And sometimes it is fucking exhausting.
And it's just, I think what irritates me is it's like, and I'm so skeptical, but it's like, how much of this is due to the fact that medical imaging centers don't want to upgrade their equipment?
Right. Because it's money.
I just have to throw that out there. So
Ridiculous.
There's also, I know. Agreed. So there's also a lot of discussion around lifestyle changes and their impact on breast cancer risk. A recent study found that maintaining a healthy weight, exercising regularly, and limiting alcohol and why did I stumble over that? Limiting alcohol can significantly reduce risk. So we talked a bit about what happened to me in this episode's twin sister on breast reduction, which was last week.
Yeah, that is so important. It's not just about screenings, but it's also how we live day to day. Our day-to-day choices will ultimately affect our health in the long run in a lot of ways. But I want to backtrack a minute about the 3D mammography since this was new to you. I just want to recommend to our listeners, talk to your healthcare providers about it, find out if your insurance covers it, because I and maybe there is a good reason why all women are not offered 3D mammography, but if it's because of money or insurance or a healthcare system that doesn't prioritize women, which I mean, come on, but it makes me so angry.
I'll see if yes. And I will see if I can find a link to some credible information about 3D mammography so you're armed when you do talk to your doctor, y'all.
That's awesome.
So What can our listeners do to empower themselves, y'all? So first, we recommend that you educate yourself about breast health. That's part of the reason we did the episode for the twins this month. The more you know, the better equipped you are to advocate for yourself.
Oh, 100%. And do not hesitate to ask questions during your doctor visits. If something doesn't feel right or you have a question, even if you think it's a quote unquote dumb question, speak up. I remember I would go with my mom to her oncology appointments. And, she was in the generation where you just did not push back at all with authority, AKA the doctors. And I would go in there with her, and I'm just a 25-year-old snot-nosed kid. And I'd be like, well, what about shark cartilage?
You go, girl.
True story. Or alternative medicine. Like, I'd been reading anything I could get my hands on and just trying to wrap my little brain around the fact that my mom had this
honey,
devastating disease. And I hadn't known anybody with cancer before. So I didn't know what the future looks like for her or us. And I was really scared. So I was just reading, voraciously on whatever I could find. And so we'd be in the doctor's office and I'd be asking these crazy questions about shark cartilage. And she would just look at me like, what the fuck are you doing? But, we do the best we can with what we have, right?
But you were fighting for her, and I get teary too. Like, I love that, like you were asking questions for her when she couldn't ask them. And I love that.
Yeah, she could not advocate for herself. So I felt like I had to do what I could to help advocate for her.
Shark cartilage and all. And honestly, it irritates the living fork out of me. Merch coming, by the way, with that. When doctors do that. I recently went to a medical visit with my dad, and I kept getting the side eye from the doctor because, quote unquote, he didn't have a lot of time, which just pissed me off. That is literally the first thing that will get a doctor fired from my care. I just can't abide it. And I get it. There's stuff, but it's like, Jesus, give me the time. Anyways, squirrel.
No,
other episode.
That is huge for me. And I'm at the point in my life where it's like, I don't give a fork. I will fire a doctor. Like you said, I was really impressed with the new gyno I saw who talked to me for so long. And I had to wait an hour, and now I know why. I'll wait a fucking hour if that means I get 35 minutes of your time.
True story.
My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women unapologetically design a life they're in love with. Because what the hell are we waiting for? My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and free offers, like my midlife reclamation guide. In it, you'll find tools to help you decide how to create the most inspired and empowered version of yourself and your life. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. See the show notes for all the details. Cheers.
So I think it's important that we give women permission to speak up and speak out and advocate for themselves, because that literally could be a matter of life and death. And I'm not blaming my mom or her doctors at all. I think there were a lot of factors involved in her ultimate death, but she definitely did not push back and say, well, what about this? Or I'm feeling that, or I don't know about that. If you take away nothing else from this episode, dear listeners, be your own best advocate. Speak the fuck up in all areas with your health and your life.
Amen. Amen. The other thing you may want to consider is joining support groups or online communities. So sharing experiences with others can provide comfort and insight. I know I really valued that when I was going through my breast reduction journey. So reach out to other women you know who have had breast cancer.
That is so important, because I just feel like women, when we're together in community, oh my gosh, it's just so empowering. And do not forget to feel yourself up.
Why did I know you were going to turn this into that? Love it.
Do not forget about your self-exams. While they are not a replacement for mammogram screenings, knowing your body can help you identify any changes early on. Don't be afraid to get really familiar with your breasts. Make it fun. And also, I'm kind of joking, but kind of not. When you're with your partner, talk to your partner about it and say, hey, if you ever notice anything different, because, hopefully your partner is touching your breasts in some form or another, right?
Story for another episode.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Have the courage to talk about that with them and let them help you. This is actually how my sister Lisa found hers, not from foreplay with her man, but by noticing changes in her breast. She found a lump 4 months after her mammogram that did not detect it. She literally has just been diagnosed, like within the month. So our family is still kind of reeling. And she's been going through multiple tests to find the cancer, see, if and where it has spread, and then decide the best treatment option. But the good news is they discovered it early because of her own body awareness and because she's, felt something weird and it was like, wow, this doesn't feel right. And then she went in, to get it handled. And her medical professionals are being extremely proactive. And I know she feels very supported by them, but I have seen her go through all the emotions. And I think that's an important piece to this is the feelings that you go through if you are diagnosed. I know I have had false alarms in the past and you're scared, you're angry, you're sad, but mostly you're fucking scared. And I think trying to control your mindset is a powerful tool. I mean, definitely feel the feelings, right? But do not let them control you. And I've been watching my sister do this and I'm so incredibly proud of her because I think it would be really easy to stay in the fear. Right. But you have to choose courage. Courage is a choice in anything, really. And I'm watching her choose courage every day.
We got you, girl. We promised we'd show up. You're showing up. It's all good. Yeah. My mom really, really struggled with her cancer treatment. She was a Christian Scientist and honestly only did the treatment because I went to her sobbing, begging her to do it because I was terrified that she wasn't going to do it. And she had a rough time with it. And it wasn't the physical aspect of it, which is brutal. She felt like everyone treated her like a victim. She hated it, right? She'd come home and be like, oh, they're just like, oh, honey, this. And she hated it because my mom never could abide by people making a fuss over her. She hated to be the center of attention. And honestly, for someone that never went to doctors, and frankly, I mean, the Christian Science thing worked out really well because she was literally never sick, right? Her last few years were, I'm going to get sad. It was a betrayal of everything she believed in. And that made it really doubly hard for her because she had to spend her last days knowing that she had not sought treatment early enough.
I know that her Christian Science part of her was so strong. I even reached out to her about that one time after my mom died.
Did you? Tell me.
I did. I wrote to her because I was young. I was 26 when my mom died and I was just trying to find out answers. Like I was trying to just figure out what the hell. And I know that she was very, devout and she really was strong in her beliefs. And so I was just curious. I was like, can you just please tell me more about it? And I'll have to find the letter she wrote me.
Please. Oh, yeah. She wrote those letters. They were so special. And I remember, and I don't know what came of it, but I remember her saying, it was a different thing. Karen's reached out to me and she wants to put together something about her mom for those of us that knew her. And I'm working on doing that. And I was just like, that is just incredible. So I know, I mean, your mom was just so important to her, but oh my God, if you find that letter, you've got to get that to me because she was so proud of her writing and people she would write letters to would treasure them. And I remember when she was diagnosed with her Parkinson's, that was so hard for her because she couldn't write anymore. And that was so rough for her because that was something that she really valued. She really took the time to write letters to people that were suffering. Oh, God, this is an intense episode, y'all.
This is real.
Jesus.
That's so funny. I had forgotten I did that, but I did. After my mom passed away, I wrote because, it's 1996. No, that was when my son was born. It was 1994. When she passed away. And we didn't have the internet and all this stuff.
Yep.
Or if we did, it was in the early stages. And so I literally physically wrote letters to everybody that I knew she cared about or cared about her. And I said, please give me your memory of her, give me something you remember, or, because I am putting together a book. And I did. And it was like a literal old school scrapbook with all these letters from the people that loved her. And I was just trying to grasp onto her as much as I could and hold on tight, because she was my best friend and it rocked my world. And I'm curious. I mean, I just can't even imagine how hard that conversation must have been with your mom, to beg her to choose treatment, because she did have these beliefs that were so strong and such a part of her. And yeah, watching women we love go through cancer is so hard. I've had 3 women who I love very much get diagnosed with breast cancer recently. And I wanted to pass on their words so we can take the conversation out of the statistics, out of the research, and into real life, because we want you, our listeners, to walk away with knowledge and also inspiration and hope. So one of my besties, she had a mammogram within the year of her diagnosis, but the mammogram did not catch it. So I know. So just as in my sister's case, a clean mammogram does not mean there is not a problem, which is pretty fucking shitty. And my girlfriend, she was adopted, so she didn't really know her family history, but she did her self-exams regularly. And her first symptoms was blood coming from her nipples, which was alarming. Yeah. So listeners, if you have any type of weird discharge from your nipples at all, go see your doctor. And her cancer wasn't really typical in that her mass was not, they tell you to feel for like a pea or like a little hard rock or a little round shape. And hers wasn't like that. She said it was more like a band around her breast. So I think it's just important to notice any changes at all in your breasts. And I asked her what advice she would give to women, our Drinks with the Girls sisters. And this is what she said. Be your own advocate. Make your appointments, take notes, and be extra kind to yourself and be kind to your medical staff. This is so her. And okay, so this next thing rocked my world, and it's so important. And I'm so incredibly grateful that she mentioned this. She said, sit your loved ones down and talk to them, because their fears will affect you. And I feel like this is such an incredible perspective, because I think we, as the women and the partners and the moms, are always the ones that are handling everything, right? The chaos tamers, as we've talked about before. We are the ones that are taking care of everyone. So when something happens to us, I don't think the people around us know how to handle it.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to help them, right? Like we're always helping the people.
Naturally.
So we need to sit them down and say, look, I've got this. I've got this. We've got this. And I need you to know we've got this. And I love that my girlfriend brought this up, because you need strength from the people around you. And not that they're not allowed to have their feelings. They definitely are. But if they are constantly in sadness, in pity, in worry, right, that's going to transfer to you. Because what do we do as women? We want to take care of everybody and make sure that everybody's feeling okay. And when we're fighting cancer, we don't have fucking time for that. So I just think this is an incredible perspective.
Yeah.
I just love
it. It reminds me of, this thing my mom had. It's like, I don't want people's pity. Like, and that was the one thing, like she was a warrior, right? Like she encased herself in the belief that things were going to be okay. And that's how she would deal with anything that was difficult, is she would just draw herself away from the world and just swim in that space in her Bible and everything else, so that she could go out then to the world and be able to live with confidence, right? And I think that's what upset her so much about the treatment and oh, honey, how are you doing? Like, she was just like, I'm not a fucking victim, right? And I remember talking to her after those, and she really struggled with that piece.
I wish I had the wherewithal to have those conversations with my mom, because I was 24 when she got diagnosed. And like I said, we'd never dealt with cancer before in anybody. And so I wasn't sure what to do. So we never had conversations. Like, my biggest regret is that I never had a conversation with her about, how are you feeling? What are your coping mechanisms? Are you afraid you're going to die? Like, I didn't talk to her about the fucking elephant in the room. And I just want to encourage, if any young women are dealing with mothers who have cancer, and I know our niche is not really the younger women, but don't be afraid to have the conversations. I know it's hard, and I know you don't know the right words sometimes, but not talking about it is one of my biggest regrets. So my girlfriend also said that get your mind in the best mental state possible. And we talk about that a lot here at Drinks with the Girls, about our mindset, our mental state. And for her, she would meditate. And I loved this. She's such my earthy, girthy sister. She says, ground your soul to the earth because you want to stick around. And she says, with emphasis, fuck this cancer in your body. And I'm quoting, you are not welcome here. You are not the boss of me. And part of her treatment was to have a double mastectomy. And I'm sure there's a lot of emotion that goes into making this massive decision, because our breasts are such a part of who we are as women, our femininity. They're linked to our role as a mom, if we have kids, our sexuality. And so she also says, love your body. Say thank you to those titties for looking great in a bathing suit, for helping you reach that orgasm, for nursing babies. Say thank you for the service, and then move the fuck along. I've got things to do.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that. God, this episode is hard.
We're wrecked.
Yeah, I know. That's wow. That's so powerful. And what a gift to be able to listen to those words from people that are living that fight.
Hey, fabulous Drinks with the Girls listeners. Guess what? We have something exciting happening here at Drinks with the Girls. We have a way for you, our listeners, to be involved. We would love you to be a part of our Drinks with the Girls support team. Creating a sisterhood of empowered women is our goal, and we are so grateful you are here. But we need your help to grow this incredible community that we have a big and bountiful vision for.
You can help us get the word out about Drinks with the Girls, because we want all women to feel the support of our powerful community behind them. Here's what you need to do. Go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe or follow Drinks with the Girls if you haven't already. We need you to share every episode we put out.
We would love for you to do this, especially when a particular episode resonates with you and or brings to mind someone you care about that you think would benefit from listening to it. Share with a girlfriend via text, share to your email newsletter, share on your socials, share from the rooftop. Every share is a chance for all women around the world to feel connected and supported by our Drinks with the Girls sisterhood.
The other thing you can do is officially join our Pod Squad email list. That will help you in two ways. First off, every time a new episode drops, you'll get an email with info on the topic, so it reminds you to tune in and listen with an easy to follow link. But it's also an easy format to hit forward on and share with some of your favorite people so they can easily access the newest episode. That link is always included in our show notes for you.
We are so excited to have you as part of the Drinks with the Girls Pod Squad support team. We are all in this together. Cheers.
Cheers.
So let's talk about several myths about breast cancer, because myths can contribute to misunderstandings and misinformation. And we at Drinks with the Girls want you to have the correct information, right? So knowing the facts is important, because knowledge is power. So what myths can we bust?
Okay, first myth. Only women with a family history of breast cancer are at risk. The truth is, while family history can increase risk, the majority of women diagnosed with breast cancer have no family history of the disease.
Another myth is that breast cancer only affects older women. And we talked about this a little already, but although the risk increases with age, younger women can also develop breast cancer.
Okay, next myth. A lump is the only sign of breast cancer. And Karen, I think, busted that with the comment about the last friend's description of when she found it. Lumps are a common symptom, but breast cancer can also present in other ways, such as changes in breast shape, swelling, skin changes, or, as she mentioned as well, discharge from the nipple.
Here's a myth. Men cannot get breast cancer. And the truth is, the National Breast Cancer Foundation states that in 2024, 2,800 men will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. And although it is significantly less than the amount of women that will be diagnosed, at 310,720, breast cancer is still or can still be a factor for men.
Another myth, breast cancer is a death sentence. We've come such a long way from those days where Karen's mom was battling it, and even when my mom was battling it. Many women with breast cancer survive and live long, healthy lives, especially with early detection and advances in treatment.
Yes, definitely. And these myths create a lot of confusion. But now that we have those cleared up, let's talk about why it is important to catch it early. Early detection plays a critical role in improving treatment outcomes and survival rates.
So, one of the big reasons for this is that early stage cancers are generally more treatable and have higher survival rates. When caught in its earliest localized stages, the 5-year relative survival rate is 99%, right? That's one of the reasons I did the big universe high five when my surgeon told me that he had taken out tons and tons of cysts from my breast tissue, right? Fewer cysts, fewer opportunities for breast cancer to happen. So, like, I celebrated that news. I was like, wahoo, right? Thank you, Jesus. So that's incredible that the survival rate is 99%. I mean, just incredible.
It truly is. And I think knowing your body and talking to your doctor about any changes or concerns is vital.
Yeah. Honestly, I think this just highlights the importance of women being familiar with their bodies, right? And also women having conversations like these. Again, I keep talking about our previous episode, but I mean, we kind of jokingly have called them the twins, but it's true, right? That whole theme for me was knowing my body and knowing what needed to happen. And I think that this discussion is the same thing.
Absolutely. And that's why we created Drinks with the Girls. So we
Amen.
can have conversations like this. We can get rid of the shame or get rid of the fear or whatever it is and talk about the stuff, right? And I think it's similar to why women don't talk about menopause. We're taught that anything that has to do with our bodies, our sexuality is kind of like dirty or taboo. So no one talks about it. I think this is changing, but like our mothers didn't talk with their daughters. Like my mom didn't talk to me about really anything. Like, I don't even think she talked to me about my period. Maybe she just kind of gave me like one of those big, huge Kotex things and said, good luck. But, we certainly didn't talk about, breast health or anything like that. But things are changing. And I just think it is important that we as women are having these conversations with each other, and especially with the women we love, because it helps us feel less alone and it gives us all power.
Something else that's important to note is that genetics is a crucial factor in cancer development, right? We talked about it's not the only factor, but it is an important factor. So it's important to know your family history if you have access to that. Discuss that with your healthcare provider. Honestly, for me, it's weird because both my mother and grandmother had breast cancer, but the doctors have been more alarmed about my dense breast tissue than that, which I still try to wrap my head around, right? Then they say, because I've asked them several times, if it happens post 70, it's a different story. It makes no sense to me though, but.
Yeah. And while genetics plays a role, we can't really control our genetics. So let's talk about the things we can control and change, like environmental factors and lifestyle.
Yes, lifestyle factors like diet, physical activity, tobacco and alcohol use, and weight management can all impact cancer risk. And honestly, being totally transparent, those were a big factor in my decision to have my breast reduction, is I knew that those all contributed. And it was just one more reason that I was like, you know what, I'm doing it.
Exactly. And, maybe some lesser known factors are sleep quality, stress management, and exposure to environmental toxins. Like these can also impact our risk for cancer.
Yeah. I want to do a whole episode about sleep. Again,
yes.
I feel like the subtitle for this episode is "and list of future episodes," because sleep in midlife. Yeah. Okay. So I hate this expression, but we'll put a pin in that one.
I love it. And I just think the bottom line here is making conscious choices for our overall health so we can lead a long and healthy life. Because like we talked about earlier, if something is wrong with your health, like there's no way you're going to be worried about doing anything else to help you live your best life. And we want to all be here and be strong and healthy and vibrant.
So, Karen, I know you have another story to share of a dear friend. So, probably good for you to share that now.
Yes, I mentioned I've had a few people dear to me that have been diagnosed recently. And my dear, dear friend, Kathy, she got diagnosed recently. I want to say maybe within 6 months. And her doctors did find the cancer via mammogram. So keep getting your mammograms. And her most important piece of advice is to keep getting your mammograms. And she also said, if you do get diagnosed, her advice is to have a double mastectomy. And I know that sounds radical, but she says that she's heard of too many women who had a lumpectomy and then years later they had to go back and have a mastectomy. She said, I think for health and peace of mind, it's worth it to go hard and strong from the very beginning. And these are all personal decisions, right? Like everybody's going to make the decision that they feel best with their medical professionals. But something else that I hadn't heard before, she also recommends asking for a circulating DNA test to see the chances of the cancer spreading somewhere else in the body. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right? Another test I'd never heard of.
Yeah. She wishes she would have known to make certain her lymph nodes were checked. Originally, she was stage 0. So she was told it wasn't necessary. But after the surgery, she actually was stage 1 breast cancer and the lymph nodes should have been checked. She says, and I quote, I beat myself up hard on that one for not insisting that the lymph nodes get checked out. So when I asked Kathy about managing all the emotions, this is what she said. As far as managing the emotions, everyone is so different, as you know. I found that keeping lists of my different procedures and the outcomes helpful. I've always liked structure and I like to see on paper the successes and the failures. They kind of keep me grounded, if that makes sense. I tried to do my normal activities, especially adding extra fun. I'm not really a meditate or use healing crystals kind of person. I'm more of a, I need to laugh and have fun. I must admit, for 2 weeks, I was a wreck. But then I made an effort to see friends and family, listening to comedians, chatting on the phone with people who are naturally really funny, and trying to tune out the things that bugged me. I just think this is such a good point that everyone will process a diagnosis differently and will need different things. So it's important to give yourself permission to handle it however feels best to you. Both of my girlfriends who had double mastectomies also had such great tips for surgery and post-surgery. So let us know if you'd like another episode on if you are diagnosed, what then? Because I think it's helpful to hear how other women move through the scary shit in life, like cancer.
Yeah, for sure. So as we wrap up this very important episode, let's share some resources for our listeners because we always want to make sure we leave you with something. So the American Cancer Society has excellent information on breast health, their local organizations offering support group. Definitely check out the Breast Cancer Research Foundation for the latest research updates. Knowledge is power.
And don't forget Susan G. Komen Foundation. They have been on the forefront of the breast cancer fight for at least 30 years since my mom was diagnosed. I, along with one of my best girlfriends, Laura, who also lost her mom to breast cancer, participated in the Susan G. Komen Foundation fundraiser walk to raise money for breast cancer. And at the time we did it, it was many years ago, it was a 60-mile walk over 3 days, and you camped overnight between the days.
That's so cool.
It was an amazing experience, but I'm glad I did it when I was younger. We actually walked from Santa Barbara to Malibu, and it was amazing. Each participant had to raise, I think it was like $2,000 or something to participate. I mean, it was significant. And I just felt so helpless after I lost my mom to breast cancer. And this was literally the perfect way to honor her and do something bigger and help support the cause. I don't think they do the walk anymore. I think actually another breast cancer foundation took it over, if I recall. But if you have any questions about the latest research or treatments or diagnoses or anything related to breast cancer, look up the Susan G. Komen Foundation. I believe it's Komen, KOMEN.org. They are a great resource for breast cancer.
Yeah. And I'll see if I can find this old film that I did back in the day in the 90s. It was called Once a Year for a Lifetime. But Susan G. Komen Foundation was the one that sponsored it. So I'll see if I can link that in the show notes. That's a blast from the past for sure. So let's talk about some key takeaways, right? Again, the theme of both episodes of the twins has been know your body. And in this one in particular, know your familial health history if you can, right? If you have access to that. Trust your intuition, be your own advocate, and don't forget to get friendly with your breasts, as Karen would say.
That's right. Fondle yourself. And remember, I mean, do it in the shower, get all soapy, like have some fun. Remember, I mean, anyway, I could go down such a tangent right now, but I won't. We'll save it. We'll save it for the second. Our lovely listeners, we just want you to remember the goal is to stay informed and proactive about your health because you are your own best advocate.
We hope you walk away from today's episode with a few new nuggets of info and that it has empowered you to take charge of your breast health.
Amen. And thank you for joining us on Drinks with the Girls. Don't forget to subscribe and definitely share this with a girlfriend. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.